The first time I realized the building wasn't as empty as I thought, it was already too late for the explanation to matter. I was standing in the third-floor monitoring room at exactly 2:58 a.m., staring at the access control panel on my screen. The system log had just refreshed, and a new entry appeared on the list. Main door, access granted. The timestamp read 2:57. But I hadn't heard the door open. And according to the log, the person who used the badge was me. At the time, I had already been working nights in that building for almost 8 months. The company that owned it specialized in medical data processing. During the day, the place looked like any other mid-sized corporate office: cubicles, conference rooms, glass walls with frosted logos. People moved constantly between departments, carrying laptops and coffee cups and the quiet urgency of office work. But after midnight, it was something else entirely. Most of the staff left by 7. Cleaning crews finished by 10. After that, the building was empty until morning. That was when my shift started. Technically my title was Overnight Facilities Coordinator, but the job mostly involved monitoring systems. I watched environmental sensors, checked server backups, verified security alerts, and occasionally responded if something malfunctioned. It was quiet work. Predictable. And because of the type of data stored on our servers, access to the building was tightly controlled. There were only 3 people with after-hours access. The owner. The head of IT. And me. The owner lived across the country and rarely visited. The IT director managed everything remotely. So in practice, I was the only one there at night. That was the whole point. The building had a kind of silence you only notice when you're alone long enough. During the day, you don't hear it because conversations and footsteps fill the space. At night, the quiet becomes its own presence. Air moving through vents. The low hum of server fans. The occasional click of a relay switching somewhere in the electrical system. You start to learn the building's rhythms. When the HVAC cycles. When the elevator runs its diagnostic loop. Which hallway lights dim first after midnight. For months, nothing unusual ever happened. Until the night the system recorded me entering the building twice. I noticed it by accident. Around 3 in the morning, I usually reviewed the security logs just to confirm everything was normal before the final hours of the shift. That night, when the access log refreshed, I saw the entry immediately. 2:57 a.m., main entrance, access granted, badge, M. Keller. That was my badge. But I had entered the building hours earlier. I scrolled up through the list. 10:46 p.m., main entrance, access granted, badge, M. Keller. That was the time I arrived. And yet the system clearly showed a second entry. 2:57 a.m. My badge. My name. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the monitor. At first, I assumed it was a logging error. Systems misreport events sometimes. A sync glitch, a delayed timestamp, there were dozens of possible explanations. Still, I checked the camera feed for the front lobby. Nothing. The glass doors were closed. The reception desk sat in darkness. The only movement came from the reflection of a streetlight outside. No one had entered. At least not that the camera had captured. I spent the next 10 minutes reviewing footage from every lobby camera. Nothing. No motion. No door opening. No shadow crossing the floor. Just empty frames. The strange thing was that the door alarm system hadn't triggered either. Whenever the main entrance opened, even with an authorized badge, the sensors usually logged a small mechanical delay while the magnet lock released. But the system logs showed none of that. Just the line. Access granted. I told myself the log entry meant nothing. A glitch. A phantom timestamp. By 4 in the morning, the explanation felt reasonable enough that I stopped thinking about it. The building remained quiet. The cameras stayed empty. By the time the morning staff arrived at 8, the moment had already begun to feel distant. Something minor. A system quirk. Until it happened again the following night. This time, I was watching the security dashboard when the entry appeared. 2:57 a.m., main entrance, access granted, badge, M. Keller. I felt the same strange pause in my chest as the night before. Immediately, I opened the camera feed. The lobby remained still. No one entered. No doors opened. And yet the access system insisted that I had just unlocked the building. I stood up from my desk and walked to the hallway window that overlooked the lobby 2 floors below. From there, you could see the glass entrance doors clearly. They hadn't moved. The magnet lock indicator still glowed red. Locked. But the log said otherwise. That was when the job stopped feeling routine. For the next few nights, I paid closer attention to the logs. Every night at exactly 2:57, the same thing happened. Access granted. My badge. My name. No camera footage. No door movement. No alarm. Just the log entry. Like someone was quietly telling the system I had arrived again. Eventually I reported it to IT. The director checked the database remotely. He ran diagnostics on the badge reader, verified timestamps, even pushed a firmware update to the security controller. According to him, everything was functioning perfectly. If the system says your badge was used, he told me over the phone, then your badge was used. But I'm already inside, I said. He paused. Then someone has your card. That explanation didn't sit right. My badge never left my pocket. And the building cameras never showed another person. About a week later, something else started happening. Small things. Subtle changes. The monitoring room had 2 chairs, one at the desk where I sat, and another pushed against the wall for visiting technicians. One night around 3:30, I noticed the second chair had moved. Only a little. Maybe 6 inches. Enough that the wheels had shifted position on the floor. I stood there staring at it for a long time. I knew I hadn't moved it. And no one else had been inside the room. At least not according to the cameras. After that, the feeling of being alone in the building changed. Before, the quiet felt peaceful. Now it felt attentive. Like the silence was waiting for something. Every night at 2:57, the access log updated. Access granted. My badge. My name. Then the rest of the building continued exactly as before. Empty. Still. Watching. One night around 2:30, I decided to check the entrance door myself. I rode the elevator down to the lobby. The lights dimmed automatically as I stepped out. The glass doors stood exactly as they always did. Locked. I swiped my badge. The lock clicked. The door opened normally. Everything worked. When I closed it again, the magnet sealed with a solid metallic thud. Back upstairs, the access log recorded the event properly. 2:34 a.m., main entrance, access granted, badge, M. Keller. 2:35 a.m., main entrance, door closed. That's how the logs were supposed to look. But at 2:57, the phantom entry appeared again. No door movement. No close event. Just the line. Access granted. After that, the system behavior began to shift. Camera feeds flickered occasionally around the same time. Not long enough to trigger alarms. Just a momentary loss of signal. Sometimes the elevator would stop on the 3rd floor even when no call button had been pressed. Other nights, one of the hallway motion lights would turn on briefly and then shut off again. Each event on its own was easy to explain. Old wiring. Software glitches. Sensor misreads. But the timing was always the same. Just after the access log updated. The night everything changed was a Thursday. I remember because the building felt unusually quiet even before midnight. Not empty. Quiet. The difference is subtle, but if you spend enough nights in a place, you learn to recognize it. Around 2:50, I was reviewing camera feeds when the elevator indicator blinked. Floor 1. Floor 2. Floor 3. The doors opened down the hall. I stepped out of the monitoring room and looked toward the elevator. The hallway lights flickered on one by one as the motion sensors activated. The elevator doors were open. But no one stepped out. I waited. 10 seconds. 20. Eventually the doors closed again. The elevator returned to the first floor automatically. Back inside the monitoring room, the access log refreshed. 2:57 a.m., main entrance, access granted, badge, M. Keller. That was when I noticed something new. Beneath the entry was another line. Door cycle initiated. I hadn't seen that before. The system was recording a door event somewhere inside the building. But it didn't specify which door. I opened the internal access logs. Server room, no activity. Storage wing, no activity. Maintenance corridor, no activity. Every door in the system remained locked. Except one. The monitoring room door. The log showed. 2:57 a.m., monitoring room, access verified. I looked slowly toward the door behind me. It was still closed. And I was still sitting in the chair. The realization came quietly. Not with panic. Just a slow tightening in the back of my mind. The system wasn't recording someone entering the building. It was recording someone entering the room I was already in. At the exact same moment every night. I didn't move for a long time. The camera monitors hummed softly. The server rack lights blinked in steady patterns. Everything looked normal. Except for the chair beside the wall. It had moved again. This time it was angled toward the desk. Like someone had pulled it closer to watch the screens. I resigned 2 weeks later. I never told management why. I just said I needed a different schedule. A different environment. Something less isolated. They accepted the resignation without asking many questions. Months later, I received a message from the employee who replaced me. He had taken over the overnight shift. He said he had a strange question. Did the access system ever log you entering the building more than once during your shift? I stared at the message for a long time before replying. Yes, I finally wrote. It did. There was a pause. Then another message appeared. Good, he wrote. Because the system just recorded you coming in again. The part that still bothers me isn't the logs. Or the cameras. Or the chair moving across the floor. It's something I realized later. Something I never noticed while I worked there. Every night at 2:57, the system said my badge unlocked the building. But the cameras never showed anyone entering. Which means whoever used my access was already inside.